how to apply for the Google grant. There's a lot of information about the Google grant. Not a lot of people go over the application process. Okay, so I'm going to go over that with you right now. And the number one thing you have to know if you qualify. All right, there are qualifications, and you can go to google.com/nonprofits, because it's a nonprofit program. It's not just for churches, but churches can take advantage of this. I never do that. I just Google search, Google for nonprofits, okay? And it takes you to the same page, all right? Number one, you have to be a 501c3, okay? If you're not a 501c3, you have to be under the umbrella of one, okay? Just saying we're a church doesn't automatically get you the grant, okay? There has to be some kind of documentation, all right? This isn't like the Monday Night Football church that started up and then, we did all this stuff and took advantage of all the religious exemptions and all that. Now, Google wants you to have IRS declaration either for your organization, or if you're under a denomination, you can use the denominational letter. For example, my church, we don't use our own documentation. We use the state's Baptist Convention's documentation. That's the umbrella for that we are covered under the nonprofit. But you got to have something from the IRS that says, hey, yeah, you're a 501c3. Also have your employee identification number. You got to know your name, address, and all that stuff. And then I'm going to speak briefly to what we call, and on our team, we call it the agreement, right? We always know what we're talking about, and people will get into fights on this, okay? So I'm going to present this to you in the most neutral way as possible, okay? If you've never applied for the Google grant, this is the first time you're going to hear this. If you thought about applying it, or maybe you talked to your leadership team about it, you probably got to this point where we had to agree to this term that Google lays out, and this causes a lot of controversy, okay? So I'm going to approach this in a very neutral way, because this is something between you and your organization, honestly, between you and your state, and of course, you and God, as with everything else, okay? Another qualification to get approved for the Google Grant Program or the Google Nonprofit Program is you have to agree to Google's terms of service. And there is one portion of that terms of service that a lot of churches don't feel comfortable agreeing to. Okay, I'm going to read it for you word for word here on the show, so you can hear what this agreement is, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit from a very neutral perspective. Okay, here's the agreement. Here's what you have to agree to. You have to agree that your organization does not discriminate against any person or group of people in either hiring/unemployment practices or in the administration of programs and services, including on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. Okay. You interpret that however you want. Okay. But I will tell you, some churches will look at this and say, well, we obviously are not going to hire someone that goes against our faith or what we believe. Therefore, they cannot agree or will not click, I agree to this term, which is part of these terms of service. Okay. There are other churches who are a little bit more, I don't want to say libertarian, but a little bit more like the line of thinking that was told to me was, well, if we don't hire someone that goes against our religious beliefs, it's not going to be because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. It will be because of a different marker. Okay. And so they're not discriminating based on those things. They're discriminating based on maybe they didn't have the education, maybe they didn't have the background or the experience, right? There's something else that they'll point to and say, this is the reason, and they think that they can defend it, okay? This also goes from state to state. In some states, it's free, what do they call it? Free to work, free to hire. I can't remember what it's called now at the top of my head. Texas is one of those, okay? Free will state. I think it's it. Where you can hire and fire someone for any reason whatsoever, all right? I've been told that pastors believe and even had legal consultation that if you're in a state like that, at will, that's what it was, at will state, then this term is basically non-enforceable, okay? Other states, it's very difficult because they really drop the hammer. They really regulate hiring and firing practices, and those churches are a little more hesitant in agreeing to this term, okay? So even if you get on a call with me and you say, Justin, here's $1 million. Now tell us to check this box so we can get this free Google money. I'm not going to tell you to check that box. That box has to be checked and has to be agreed upon between you, your leadership, whoever your administration is. It's obviously between you and God. Since you're the pastor, you're accountable to your flock and your congregation. You're also accountable to the business of the church oftentimes. Okay. So I cannot I cannot say just hit agree and you'll be fine. I can also not say don't agree to that because you'll never, it doesn't work. Okay? This has to be a decision that you make. All we can do is point to it, and before we give you an invoice, we say, make sure that you know and understand this. Okay. So those are the qualifications. Okay. You have to be a 501c3. You have to have documentation, and you have to agree to the agreement. Okay. If you have and by the way, guys, if you have a question about the agreement, Facebook groups are not the place to discuss that. Someone asks about the agreement a lot, almost every week in the Facebook groups for church communications, church leadership. And you're going to get 1,000 different answers, between how dare you, you're a sinner going to hell, to who cares, right? Just click agree and get the free money, okay? That you're going to get no help there, okay? This really has to be a decision between you and your leadership, okay? So if you qualify, okay, again, 501c3, you're okay with the agreement, you got documentation, you just go to google.com/nonprofits, or like I said, I just Google for nonprofits, and you follow the instructions. Okay. It'll give you a nice landing page, and you say, sign in. Okay. And you're going to follow the instructions, to tell them your organization, what your primary email is, and, who you are as the representative of your organization. Okay. Now, what Google does is they do verify your nonprofit status. So you're going to get to a point in the application process that says, do you have a TechSoup authorization token? Okay. All that is TechSoup is a company that they do a bunch of stuff. And one of the things they do is they verify and validate your nonprofit status for Google and other platforms. So you get to this point, and a lot of people get scared and say, well, I don't have that, so I can't get this. No. As part of the, if you've never done anything with this before, as part of the Google for Nonprofits program, when you apply, you can say, I don't have this, and Google will automatically start that process for you. And you don't even have to go to the website TechSoup or know what that token is. It's nice to know. In fact, you probably should write it down somewhere or have it somewhere, so to speak. But they will do that. Thank you, Jesse, validation token. They will do that as part of the process. So just say, I don't have it. Google's going to be like, all right, we'll pass your information to TechSoup. TechSoup's going to validate you. They'll most likely ask for that documentation and any other missing information. And once they validate it, they'll just send that validation right over to Google, and Google will pick up where it left off. You never have to go sign up for an account, set up something else or whatever. Just, follow Google's steps. Say you don't have TechSoup validation, and then they'll do all that stuff. Just follow the instructions of the emails that they send you, okay? The other thing that I've seen a lot of people stumble upon in this process is, for whatever reason, they use an email they don't have access to. Whenever you apply for stuff like this, don't use emails you never check or don't have access to, okay? When it asks for your email, your organization's, I know, and maybe this is it. They ask for your organization email, and we just put inbox@mychurch.com or hello info@mychurch.com. And it's not a real email address. It just seems formal, or no one checks it, or no one has access to it. Don't do that, because that's where all your information is going to go to. And if you can't get into that email account, you can't get into your Google grant. Okay. So don't use an email that you never check or don't have access to. Even if it's your organizational email address is just a Gmail account, it's not recommended. You just need something that you can get access to. Okay. It's not really going to be publicly listed, not until later when you verify your ad account. Okay. So that's the overall. I know I threw a lot at you, and it was a very high level. Okay. People hire, Jesse's in the chat still. People hire us because we do all this for you. It is a lot of steps to go through, and you do have to be very particular about it. But if you're comfortable with it and you're okay, like taking some time to read all this documentation, make sure you agree to everything. This is something that you can knock out in about 15 to 20 minutes, and you never have to do it again. Okay. Now, once you get approved, you'll get an email, and it says, congratulations, complete your approval here. You click on that blue link. It's a blue button. You click on that. And again, it goes to that email that you put as your organization email. So you got to make sure that that's working. Go to that, finish the instructions, and then you're basically approved for Google for Nonprofits, which is a whole big program. It comes with a few different things. You just need to go into Google Ad Grants, and then you click on Apply Here. And there's another set of things you have to go through. Again, just follow the instructions. They make you watch a video. Just watch the video and answer the questions. It's an open book quiz. You can see the question and go back and find the answer in the video. But you do have to do that. And then usually within 48 to 72 hours, in my experience, you'll be approved. Okay. Now, like I said, this is a lengthy process. Our SOP for this is way too long in my opinion, but there's a lot of things you got to check the box. Okay. Just follow the instructions. If you have any questions, Google has a lot of documents. If you want us to claim it for you, we can help you claim that. You can just email me, hello@navachurchmarketing.com. But that's what you have to do. You have to qualify and then you have to apply. That's how you get the Google grant. So you can get free money for your church to spend on advertising. And by the way, guys, I should have said this way earlier because I still get people calling me about this. This is not a $10,000 check that your church can use for whatever you want. This is specifically for Google ads and more specifically Google search ads. Okay. So don't think you're going to go through all this and get a $10,000 check every month in the mail or direct deposit. No, this just sits in the Google account and it spends that money instead of your money. Okay. Once you get access, it'll ask you a few questions about the organization and then you can go through and set up your first ad. A lot of people get confused as well because it doesn't ask for your billing information. That's okay. It just knows to start spending the grant money. This process is very confusing if you've never done it before. I'm giving you a 30,000 foot view. So when you hear this, you're like, oh man, why is it saying they never asked me for my billing information? It's okay. You don't have to put any in there. It's going to spend the grant money. So there you go. Jesse says it's like a gift certificate to the ad store. It's only spendable there. You can't take it to Home Depot and buy mission trip materials, right? No, you gotta stays in your account and it spends it there. But again, if you can spend it, it's there for you to spend.